Falcha, welcome back. This is Irish Granny. We're doing The Laws of the Universe. We just finished this book, but we're doing a continuation in this video, which is video number 2. And what this is a compilation of research that I did on the internet from a variety of different sources. And I'm not sure. One of them was a woman who is, I'm just finding this out, apparently very popular. Brenda Brene. I'll look it up. Then also there was some stuff by, he's famous, Deepak Chopra. And I tend to be resistant to popular guru type people. But what I did was I wrote down what all of them said about these laws of the universe. And I collated where they overlapped with the Hermetic philosophy. And that's what this is. So we're going to talk a little more in depth, more modern view of the 12 universal laws. And the first thing both of them said right off was that they're associated with Hermetic philosophy and with a Hawaiian form of meditation called Ho'oponopono, and I'm so sorry, which is meditation for freedom is what it means. It's an ancient Hawaiian philosophy, it's a spiritual practice, and it's about accepting total responsibility for everything around us. It believes in confession, repentance, and reconciliation. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? So these are the foundational laws of the universe that seem to apply slightly different semantics, perhaps, but in pretty much all human schools of thought. So the first is, what is it, everybody? The law of divine oneness. And this is about the interconnectedness of all things. If one person suffers, we all suffer. And in physics, it's called the unified field. And that we all have one field of consciousness. And separation is illusory, and it leads to suffering. And that book we read on plasma physics certainly made that clear why in a very physical sense. And I guess I haven't read Denise's Substack yet, but she's written an essay on Substack about applying the law of plasma, the theory of plasma to the laws of the universe. So beyond our senses, all thought, action, and each event are all connected. This law of divine oneness tells us to be compassionate, to recognize that we're all one. We are our brothers and sisters' keepers. And I believe Brene Brown, quoted a song by John Lennon. And he had his issues, but I am he, as you are me, and we are all together. So one of the ways that this was organized was this kind of an explanation. And then what's the goal applying this law? Ask yourself, how can I be more compassionate? How can I be more accepting of people? Ask yourself, what would love do? And the action that you can take. Because remember, we're not supposed to just sit on the thought and hope, wishful thinking. We're supposed to act on it. The best action to get there is meditation, to operate at a higher frequency and to raise our vibration to a collective consciousness. We need to contemplate and start recognizing if you don't know what's going on in here and in here, you can't affect positive change around you. And then the quote is namaste, which means I see the divinity in you. Number 2, the law of vibration. All matter is in constant motion. All is vibrating at a specific frequency. The higher the frequency, the more positive, less stuck to the physical. Rocks vibrate, but they do it very slowly at low frequency. And spirit vibrates at very high, fast frequency. And our vibratory frequency informs us, it informs our lived experience. So you reap what you sow. And FYI, it's a little off the topic, but I read this yesterday. They have just proven that plants interact with the environment through sound. They make sounds. They make a different sound when they're happy than they do when they're not happy. By happy, I mean need nutrients, need water, need sunlight. When they're cared for and healthy, they make a sound, and when they're not, they make a different kind of sound. Trees make a noise when they're cut down. Everything is living. So the goal is to raise our vibration. And the action, what can you do to achieve that goal? Meditation, yoga, sound baths, we've heard that before, chakra work, and I would add small acts of kindness. Law number 3, the law of correspondence, as above, so below. And this is saying that patterns repeat throughout the universe, down to a personal level and into a microscopic level. Our reality mirrors what's inside of us, and our reality mirrors what's above us. So, and I really believe this. Look at what's going on in Ukraine. Look at what's going on in American politics. And then look at how we treat each other on a small level. Look at all the homeless people in the streets. Look at the people who can't afford medical care. Look at the people who are addicted because they feel hopeless and they've been preyed upon by pharmaceutical companies. And we know that that's true. The Sackler family fled to Europe so they could sell their opioids in Europe with impunity. When they got in trouble here, they got a slap on the hand. Nothing big. So our internal environment determines our external environment. And the more horrible people treat each other, the more that escalates. Look at what's going on in Ukraine. And that's not to say that Ukrainian people were horrible and therefore Russian people treated them poorly. I would say it's more that the Russian people have been treated poorly by their own government for a very long time. And we're going to get into that in a book here in a couple of weeks. A repressive society creates an oppressive mindset, and that spills over into callousness and poor behavior and brings negative reaction from other countries. And then you go out and you victimize somebody that had nothing to do with nothing. So our internal environment, our vibratory level, determines our external environment, as within, so without. A universe is contained in us. Things don't happen to you. Things don't happen to you. They happen for you. They are lessons. Chaos and fear in your life often reflects the chaos and fear within you, if you're honest with yourself. And so when you have problems, ask yourself, this is the action that you can take. Ask yourself, what is this telling me about what I need to heal inside of me? So you're always picking bad guys. What do you think about yourself? What do you think you deserve? What are you looking for? And the goal is to change your inside, heal your inside, to change your emotions, to change your thoughts, to change your actions. And otherwise you get stuck in a repeating cycle to learn the same lesson over and over, and you always end up with bad guys. So you gotta stop with the seeking of anybody and start healing what's in first. So if you see a negative repeating pattern in your life, work on your train of thought and your emotional reactions. Addiction's a good example. Addiction, there's a physical component, a genetic component, and then that triggers this spiral. But the behavior begins as an emotional reaction. So it's really important not just to stop the behavior, not just to get help for that, but to start thinking about what was the impetus at the beginning and try to heal that. So how do you do that? You find a positive focus. Intention matters. Everything impacts us energetically. So if you occupy yourself with things that bring you down, it could become a negative cycle. So if you find yourself just completely overwhelmed by political news, dip in and dip out. It's a delicate balance, I believe. I believe you have to stay informed. You don't want to be surprised when the Gestapo comes to the door. You have to stay informed. But try to affect change on a personal level. Find out what raises your energy and seek that out. It's okay to be into true crime, for example, if it stimulates you intellectually and your curiosity. But if you're focusing on blood and gore and you're terrifying yourself and barricading yourself in and afraid to go places, that's not okay. That lowers your energy. So if you're not getting something positive from it, intellectual stimulation, entertainment in the sense that your mind is challenged, not you're enjoying crime. So balance is the key. It's a cycle. It flows both ways, and maybe watch a crime show and enjoy it for what it is, and then meditate, before you go to sleep, so you're not focused on this terrible thing. And the action that you can take in a step towards bringing this law into effect is to practice appreciation, practice gratitude. Don't make it a chore. Just learn to recognize that when you do appreciate something, try to feel it even more. So like all the daffodils are out right now, and I've been trying to focus on that instead of, my neighbors. Trying to look away from the camouflage, look away from the gun cases, and admire the daffodils in the yard. So if someone does something nice for you, focus on it and enjoy it and reciprocate and pay it forward. That's really important. And you might have to put thought into it at the beginning. Remind yourself, I should pay that forward. But it eventually becomes natural. Second nature. The more you feel grateful, the more you'll have to feel grateful about. Work on emotional resiliency. Don't feed your fears. Empower yourself, and if you have problems, look inside for the solution. Don't be blaming other people. Law number 4, the law of attraction. Like attracts like. And this is similar to the law of vibration. You have to elevate your vibration level to get what you want to attract. Dress for the job you want. Focus on what you want. Get on the right frequency. Similar vibrations will attract each other. So if you want love, focus on that. By giving love, do acts of kindness. Instead of trolling dating sites, do some volunteer work. Acts of kindness. So to have the kind of life that you want, you have to get your mind right. Be the type of person who attracts those things. Personality creates personal reality. I thought that was really interesting. So if you're the grumpy neighbor who goes out and yells, "Get off of my lawn," people will start avoiding you. That's that law. So you ascend to the vibratory frequency that you want. And the example that they gave was the movie Legally Blonde, and then the concept of dress for success. You can't have doubts about the attainability of your goal. You have to be focused. You have to start gradually and be realistic. You can't decide you're going to Harvard Law School if you can't read and write. Be realistic. But you can learn to read and write, and then you can progress. Create small goals and steps to the final goal. Don't have an all or nothing attitude. And there's a purpose to that. There's a lesson in that process, because as you take gradual steps towards your goal, attainable small steps, it builds confidence. And you think, I didn't think I could do that. And I actually can do that. I wonder if I can do to the next thing. And that's how it happens. So act like you have the goal. Feel worthy of success. Don't be a loser. Don't act like a loser. Don't walk around like a sad sack, poor pitiful me. And eventually, as you act, you'll attract more of the positive. And it builds a foundation for success. And we're not talking success, cutthroat, capitalist, that's not the goal here, ever. So this is a good example. This is why 70% of lottery winners end up broke. They don't adjust to the money slowly. They go from unemployed, living in their mother's basement, to having several $1 million, and they lose their minds. You can't keep money when you have a low vibratory frequency. You have to ascend to that level to maintain it. And you must believe you're worthy. It's what it's about. So number 5, the law of inspired action. This governs the conscious formation of reality. You can't just intend or ask for what you want. You have to take real steps. You have to act with inspiration. That's that gentle nudge from within that we read about. So what's the goal here? The goal is take some time and look within and figure out what it is you want. So set your goal and then identify steps to get there. Live in the now. Live in the moment. Don't be always feeling unsatisfied, not enough, dissatisfied, anxious. Live in the moment. Slow down. Get quiet so you know what you need. And create a space inside yourself. But if you'd like to come create a space in my garage, I'd be grateful. Create a space for internal guidance. Be open to possibilities. Let go of your need to control things. Manifesting comes out of seemingly nowhere, and what you're really doing is you're co-creating with the universe. You have to align your actions with your desires. This all overlaps. We've talked about this. It requires trial and error. You're going to make some missteps, and that's the process. Because as I said, negative feelings, negative things that happen to you, mistakes are a lesson. You learn from your mistakes. The important thing is to reflect on it and try to act differently. You can't just forge ahead and do the same thing. And you can't do what I do, which is forge ahead with the to-do list, and manically go through it. You have to, as they put it here, be alert for that aha moment of epiphany. You have to open yourself up to guidance from within. And this requires trust and flexibility. You have to be willing to change. And you have to trust that introspection and gradual application of intention will slowly get you where you want to go. Number 6, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. All things in the universe are in constant evolution and fluctuation. All things are flux and change. And then it's important to remember that thoughts are energy and must precede actions. Thoughts can manipulate reality. They do create. And this is physics. They now know this. This is not woohoo. This is physics. Energy is never created or destroyed. It just changes form. Thoughts are energy. They can show you on a screen. They can measure when you're thinking. Your electroencephalogram changes because it measures the energy. Those waves are energy, and energy creates. The goal is whatever your particular goal is. You have to decide what is it. And then the action is you can take low negative energy and you can change that slowly with positive thoughts and actions. And, start small. Start with some small thing. Like I'm trying to think of a negative thing that I talk myself into. I can't think of something spontaneously right now. But identify some small thing that you're not happy about around you and focus on how that small thing can be changed and think about what you're going to do to change that small thing, and then act on it. And it seems so simple, but we all just sort of, don't get it. Apply positive thoughts with intention. Act in accordance with your thoughts, and thoughts will manifest a change in your reality. Number 7, the law of cause and effect. And of course, as we know, this is related to karma. Karma is a Sanskrit word. It means action or work or deed. There is a relationship between actions and events. Every action has a reaction. Every action is always accompanied by its consequences, the law of cause and effect. So you will eventually feel the ripple effect. And like we said earlier, it may not be obvious. Doing something good may not come back as, winning the lottery or whatever. It might come back as something entirely unexpected. And I think what they don't talk about a lot in this particular resource is that it may not come back in this lifetime. There's the rub. There may be a lesson to be learned in not getting that reward until you've lived the life. But if you don't live the life in the right direction, you're just increasing your negative karmic burden. So saying, oh, to hell with it, I never get what I want. There's a perfect example. How come I never win first place? Well, maybe you're not being realistic. Maybe the Boston Marathon is not the first race you should run in. Just a stupid example, but every action is always accompanied by its consequences, and eventually you'll feel the ripple effect. The result of a deed is inherent in the deed itself. That is so important. It's not the what you're going to get, it's the fact that you're doing it. So you can't escape from the effects of your deeds. More's the pity. So as you sow, so shall you reap. This is the karmic cycle. They may not say that in the Bible. They may not say that in the Baltimore Catechism. But your milk bottle will be upside down and black, and you're going to have a karmic debt. So this is a mandatory law. This is the law of the universe. There's just no arguing with this. Whether you believe in it, whether you like it, it's still true. It's equivalent to Newton's law of equal and opposite reactions. And this is not about reward and punishment. This is not about being good or bad. It's not. It's a neutral. It's a law. Laws aren't judgments. Laws just are, and that's the hard part for me to wrap my head around. It's not about good and bad. It's about you do this. This is going to be the effect. The results of your actions may be pending and carried across lives. So I guess they did talk about it. I forgot. That carried across lives, your karma goes with you. And then I wrote in parentheses, ... Donald, ... Karma is carried by your soul cycle, which is unbroken in death. You aren't your body. You don't get home free. You're not exonerated when you die, because what you really are is your soul. Your body is just a vehicle. So you carry all this stuff with you. And I'm going to bring up a sensitive subject, so plug your ears if you don't want to hear me talking about suicide. It's a difficult subject. But anybody who thinks that that kind of an action is going to relieve them of all the burdens of this lifetime, regrettably not true, because it just eliminates the body, but then your soul still has to deal with the issues. And that's, I think, important to think about. It's not a get out of jail free card. It's not, and I'm not treating it lightly. I know that, like I said, it's a difficult subject. I probably shouldn't have brought it up, but something to think about. There's no getting out of here. There's no getting away from it. Your karma is your karma forever. It's kind of overwhelming to think about. It's time to start working on the balance. So it's carried by the soul, and you have eventually face the consequences of your deeds. If not now, later, but you're gonna have to face them. So we do have control over this because we have free will. It's not all predestined. Our fate is in our hands. I liked Denise's, she sort of described it as being on a road and coming to stop signs, and you have choices of turns or going straight. So there are some things that your karma, things you have to face. That part of it, I guess you could say, is preordained because you earned it. So, you have to make a choice. Are you going to turn right? Are you going to turn left? Are you going to keep going straight? And whatever you decide will bring you to another set of decisions. And these are lessons. And the free will part is the decision to go right, left, or straight, or turn back. And we have control over the decisions that we make. It's in our hands. Karma isn't good or bad. It's a balance. So every act either binds you to more karma or it frees you from this wheel of birth and death. The goal is to free yourself from the karmic cycle. So how do you do that? Is there an express ticket? You perform righteous acts and you liberate yourself from the karmic debt that you have incurred. Simple. The goal is to strive. Strive for transcendence. Try every day. Don't get overwhelmed by the big thoughts. Like, oh my God, if people think, when you die and you go through this review of your life, I don't want to think about that. Best not to. Think about today. What can you do today that's good? That's the easiest way to handle it. And cultivate detachment. Like, don't be so invested in getting, having, doing, succeed. Enjoy the moment. And have faith that all of this is as it will be. So it's got to do with the law of cause and effect, and it's got to do with universal balance. And you can transcend all of this. One of the ways that you can do this, one of the actions, is by increasing your knowledge of your own true nature and your imperishable soul. So put down TikTok. Okay, number 8, the law of compensation. So you reap what you sow. We've heard this before. Your efforts will come back to you, good or bad. And if you contribute, you will be rewarded, and you must contribute to the goal of what you seek. It's not just going to miraculously happen. So the action you can take is to work to attract love and support. I mean, all of these, it's the same thing. Do good on a personal daily basis. Doesn't have to be big and splashy. And in fact, it's better if it's not. In the Jewish tradition, I'm pretty sure this is true, when you do acts of charity, you're supposed to do them anonymously. There's more good to be had from not getting acclaim and having people, oh, you're such a good person. The Pharisee and the Sadducee. It's the person who does the good thing, not looking for adulation, that is really doing a valuable thing. So where am I being called to serve and support others today? That's what you ask yourself. And overcompensate. That was one of the things that we read earlier. Overcompensate. Put out more than you take out. Go the extra mile in service to others. Don't just always keep a ledger. Keep things balanced. Number 9, the law of relativity. Don't compare. Oh, yeah, I think this law's got my name on it. Don't constantly be judging and comparing. The meaning of a thing depends on your perspective and your perception. What's this saying? This is saying that life decisions are relative. And, this in the context of politics, and I know I get a lot of pushback on this, but I keep saying, I feel sorry for Donald Trump. If you look at what his childhood was, and yes, most of us have difficulties in childhood. Life is hard, and it's all about choices. But the younger you are that you're scarred and given a burden to carry, the harder it may be to make the right choices. And when you're a very young child and you're deprived of love and you're actively abused, mentally and emotionally by a psychopathic parent and completely abandoned by the other, and you're only 2 years old, the cards, the tarot cards are stacked against you, and you have to have compassion for that. I feel like I have to have compassion for that. All of us could have gone a wrong way if we wanted to cash in on the sympathy and use the excuse of traumas and difficulties in our lives. Now, we can't judge he should be stronger person and make better choices. Who knows what kind of karmic debt that family has? We know it's not any better now. But, you have to have the compassion to understand that it's about perception. It's about the perspective. You're not looking through walk in the other guy's shoes. The challenge that faces you in life that is a difficult choice is actually an opportunity to learn something. It's an opportunity for growth, and it strengthens your character. Difficulties are meant to bring out your higher self so you can learn and grow. If you have a lot of difficulties in life, maybe you have a lot to learn. That's hard to accept, but maybe that's the truth. Challenges develop our character, and they help us to gain clarity on our purpose. It's all about how you look at it. I tend to say, problems instead of challenges, and I get reprimanded for that. Yeah, potato. It's what's going on inside, and look at the obstacles that are put in your path in life, and they are obstacles. I think it's silly to deny they're obstacles, but the challenge is applying your free will in a positive way. So you'll have multiple tests in your life, multiple issues you need to master, multiple things you need to heal. So how you respond will determine if you'll move on to the next thing or if you're going to repeat the cycle. And the same lesson, it may get harder to catch your attention. So the example that they gave is you keep dating creeps. Well, ask yourself, why is that? What is the lesson about yourself, about the choice you make? You don't blame the other person. A creep is a creep. Why is that creep in your life? Ask yourself that and look to what you can change within yourself. Every negative experience is an opportunity to do that. So don't ask, why me? Life is so unfair. I'm so unlucky. So it means if you're stuck in a cycle of challenges, is why you feel that you're always unlucky and life is always unfair. This is karma slapping you across the face. It's an opportunity to learn. So the goal is, if you have troubles, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, what's the lesson I'm supposed to be learning? Number 10, the law of polarity. Everything is on a continuum and it has an opposite. Every coin has two sides. It's a balance, a duality. And the contrast between the two poles brings clarity. So the goal is, if you're sad, you have to know that you have the potential to be happy because it's on a continuum. You just have to move yourself closer to the other side. So look for the opposite attitude. Look to change your intention and behavior to go that way. So if something is making you, like a job is making you really unhappy, then that's going to require introspection to identify why, and it's going to require small steps. And if you can't improve by, talking to people, changing what you do at that job, you might have to find something completely different. But before you act, identify what it is that you want to do. Don't just impulsively go out there. Okay, number 11, the law of rhythm. Nature is in cycles. Everything is in ebb and flow. Everything is in motion. Change is inevitable. These are all saying this over and over. The goal is if you find yourself in a difficult situation, then you have to remember that this too shall pass. Everything is a cycle. It will change. And look for the positive you can find in the moment and console yourself with the knowledge. It's not going to always be that way. And you can actually push it towards change by small steps in thought and intent and action. And finally, number 12, the law of gender. So this is about balancing the energy of the universe. And I can't say this enough. Everywhere I read, just the admonishment constantly. We're not talking about genitals and sex. We're talking about the creative impulse and the creation, and action and emotion. And there's a balance in that. And we have allowed culture and religion to distort our understanding. So that today, and I hear from people about this, masculinity goes with the male. Femininity goes with the female. And those are loaded descriptions. We know what they mean. And it's untrue. Everybody should be a balance of both. And, all things have a gestation period, cycles, yin and yang. And this is about balancing nurturing and the drive to action. That's what this is really about. Doing versus feeling, being. The masculine energy is about focus and drive and knowledge and action and will and problem solving. Now, we're not talking men. We're talking all people have this masculine energy. Feminine energy is that intuitive knowing, the creativity, the nurturing, the empathy, and the oneness. And all people have that. And culture and religion will create an imbalance by forcing you to deny or ignore or tamp down one side or the other. And you have to realize that in embryonic development, we have the potentiality to go either way. And it's important to know that the potential to act, to nurture, the will and drive, the feeling and compassion and openness, that those things should be in balance, because the male and female are two halves of a whole. So your goal is, if you're for example, if you're the kind of person who's just doing, always busy, that's too much masculine energy. And if you're the kind of person who's overly emotional to your own detriment and the detriment of your relationships, that's too much feminine energy. And the goal is to balance that so that a busy person takes time to smell the roses. And a weepy, crying person snaps out of that a little and takes some positive action to address the emotion. And that emotion can spur on action and creation. And the creation can derive from emotion. And it's all two halves of the same whole. And that's it. It didn't take quite as long as we usually do. It's a short book thing this week. And that's good because we have all the stuff that Denise and I put out. And, these videos don't have to be your full-time job. Don't require constant attention. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I really valued being kind of required to attend to it and put myself to study it. I've been meaning to for a long time, the road to hell, right? And I'm really glad that I finally got my act together and did it, because it's helpful. And if anybody knows about Hawaiian Ho'oponopono, that the meditation tradition, practice, spiritual practice, I'm curious about it. I would love to hear from you. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a very good weekend. I'll probably be back tomorrow and do cards. I don't think I need to say too much about recent events. We kind of were hoping, and it's a good thing. I read cards. I thought it wasn't going to happen until April. But interestingly enough, there's more to come. So maybe we have more to look forward to in April. So in the meantime, enjoy the start of spring, and thank you for watching, and Slán go fóill and sláinte.